It happens to the best of us. Usually in the checkout line, under the hum of fluorescent lights. Your child spots a candy bar or a small plastic toy and asks for it. You say no. They ask again. You explain that it costs money. They look at you, confused, and say, "But you have the card. Just use the card." In that split second, you realize a profound gap in their understanding. They see the transaction, but they don't see the resource. They see the magic plastic rectangle, but they don't see the 40 hours of labor behind it. It is a visceral, panic-inducing moment where we wonder if we are raising children who will one day drown in credit card debt, or if we are being too harsh by imposing adult worries on a 6-year-old. This isn't really about a candy bar. It is about our deep, often silent anxiety regarding how we transfer the concept of value to the next generation. Money remains the last great taboo of parenting. We will happily discuss sleep training failures, potty training disasters, and even the nuances of how we talk about our bodies. But money? We tend to whisper about it. We worry that giving them too much will spoil them, but giving them too little will leave them unprepared for a harsh economy. The research on financial literacy is fascinating because it doesn't actually point to one single correct method. Instead, it highlights a series of trade-offs. Every system we choose, whether it is paying for chores, giving an unconditional allowance, or handling needs as they arise, teaches a specific lesson. And here's the tricky part. Every lesson comes with an unintended side effect. Today, I want to slow down and look at these systems not as right or wrong, but as different lenses through which our children view the world. Before we unpack the first major philosophy, I want to invite you to join us here. If you are looking for a space that values deep exploration over quick fixes, you are in the right place. We are building a community of parents who are less interested in being perfect and more interested in being thoughtful. If that resonates with you, consider subscribing or sharing this exploration with a partner who is navigating these same murky waters. Now, let's look at the most common and perhaps the most debated approach, the idea that money is something that must be earned within the home. Let's start with the commission model. This is the classic work-for-pay structure. The philosophy here is rooted in what we might call real-world preparation. The logic is incredibly sound and appeals to our sense of fairness. In the adult world, you do not receive a paycheck simply for existing. You receive resources in exchange for value provided. Proponents of this model believe that the home should be a training ground for this reality. If a child wants money, they must contribute labor. It ties income directly to effort. The hope is to instill a strong work ethic early on, creating a direct neural pathway between sweat equity and reward. It feels robust. It feels like we are protecting them from entitlement. We tell ourselves that if they learn the correlation between emptying the dishwasher and receiving $1 now, they will understand the correlation between a 40-hour work week and a mortgage payment later. But let's look at what this actually looks like on a Tuesday evening. You have a chart on the fridge. It is color-coded. There are boxes for making the bed, feeding the dog, and taking out the trash. In the beginning, it works like a charm. Your 7-year-old is suddenly an eager employee dusting baseboards for quarters. But then the novelty wears off. You find yourself in the position of a payroll manager. You are constantly auditing their work. Did they actually wipe the counter, or did they just move the crumbs to the floor? You start withholding pay for subpar performance, which leads to tears. Or, perhaps more commonly, you forget to have small bills on hand. The payday gets pushed to next week, then the week after, and suddenly the link between the work and the reward is broken by your own administrative fatigue. The clean pedagogical tool becomes a source of logistical stress. And here is the hidden trade-off, the one that often surprises parents who are deeply committed to this model. When we monetize household contributions, we risk turning family life into a marketplace. There is a story I've heard from many parents, and it usually goes like this. You ask your child to put their shoes away, and they look up at you and ask, "How much will you pay me?" By assigning a dollar value to contribution, we have inadvertently suggested that contribution is optional. If they don't need the money that week, they might decide they don't need to do the work. We strip away the intrinsic motivation of being a good citizen of the household, the idea that we help each other because we are a family, and replace it with a transaction. We gain a lesson in economics, but we might lose a lesson in communal responsibility. However, this doesn't mean the model is broken. It just means it serves a specific type of child and a specific developmental stage. The commission model often shines with children who are naturally goal-oriented or entrepreneurial. If you have a child who is saving for a specific large-ticket item, a Lego set or a video game console, this system gives them a clear, actionable path to agency. It empowers them. It transforms "I want" into "I can earn." It works best when the paid chores are extra jobs, washing the car or raking leaves, rather than the baseline expectations of daily living. It teaches hustle in the best sense of the word. This brings us to an uncomfortable question. If paying for chores risks making our kids transactional, are we accidentally raising little mercenaries? But before we swing the pendulum entirely to the other side, consider this. In an effort to avoid the transaction, we might fall into the trap of the free lunch. If the work for pay model is too cold, surely the unconditional allowance is too soft. Or is it? When we look closer at the data regarding financial literacy, a different picture emerges. One where money isn't a reward, but a teaching tool, much like a textbook or a musical instrument. This brings us to the second major school of thought, the unconditional allowance, or what I like to call the citizen model. The philosophy here is radically different. It posits that money is a tool for learning, not a reward for behavior. Think of it like a violin. You wouldn't tell a child, "If you clean your room, you earn the right to practice the violin for 30 minutes. No, you give them the violin so they can learn to play it. In this framework, an allowance is simply a set amount of money given weekly so the child can practice the skill of money management. They are a citizen of the family, and the family shares its resources. The goal is to separate money from discipline entirely. The belief is that by providing a steady, reliable income, the child has the psychological safety to make mistakes, to blow it all on candy one week and realize they have nothing left for the toy they wanted. The reality of this approach, however, tests a parent's patience in a very specific way. It requires you to hand over cash to a child who has just been incredibly rude to their sibling, or whose room looks like a disaster zone. It feels counterintuitive. Everything in our parenting gut says, "You are misbehaving. Why should I give you resources?" Standing there, handing $5 to a sulking child can feel like you are being a doormat. It requires a tremendous amount of discipline on the parent's part to bite their tongue and not say, "I'm giving you this, but you really don't deserve it." You have to watch them make purchase decisions you fundamentally disagree with, cheap plastic junk that breaks in an hour, and say nothing. You are essentially funding their bad decisions in the short term, hoping for wisdom in the long term. The trade-off here is the risk of disconnection from effort. Critics of this model, and many parents who have tried it and abandoned it, worry about the entitlement creep. If money simply appears every Friday regardless of output, does the child develop a worldview where resources are abundant and automatic? There is a subtle danger that they begin to view the allowance not as a privilege or a learning tool, but as a birthright. They miss out on that grittier lesson of scarcity. They don't feel the weight of the work required to generate that capital. While they might become excellent at budgeting the money they have, they might struggle to understand the hustle required to get the money in the first place. We prioritize management skills, but the cost is often the appreciation of the source. So, where does this fit best? The citizen model seems to thrive in families where there is already a very strong culture of unpaid contribution. If your family dynamic is one where everyone pitches in to clean the kitchen simply because that's what we do, then separating money from chores works beautifully. It preserves the communal spirit of the home while still teaching financial literacy. It is also excellent for anxious children who get overwhelmed by the pressure of earning their existence. It removes the financial anxiety and allows them to focus purely on the mathematics and emotional regulation of spending and saving. We have these two opposing forces: the commission model, which risks transactional relationships, and the citizen model, which risks entitlement. It feels like a binary choice. But what if the problem isn't how they get the money, but what they are allowed to do with it? There is a third perspective that challenges the very idea of an allowance altogether. It suggests that by giving children their own money, we are actually burdening them with decisions they aren't ready for. This is the needs-based approach. And while it sounds restrictive, it might actually be the most historically accurate way to raise a child. The needs-based approach is essentially how families operated for centuries before the invention of the modern teenager. The philosophy here is collectivism. The money belongs to the family. The parents are the stewards of that money. When a child has a need, new cleats for soccer, a ticket to the movies, a book, they ask. The parent assesses the need against the family budget and values and makes a decision. The why behind this is to foster communication and ongoing mentorship. Every purchase becomes a conversation. It isn't about your money versus my money. It is about our resources. It reinforces the hierarchy of the parent as the guide and protector. It assumes that children, quite frankly, aren't ready for total financial autonomy and need guidance at the point of purchase, every single time. In practice, this often looks like a never-ending negotiation. You are in Target. Can I get this? No. Why? Because it's not in the budget. But I really want it. It turns the parent into the perpetual gatekeeper. You become the villain who says no, or the hero who says yes. There is a distinct lack of boundaries. With an allowance, you can say, "Do you have enough money?" No? Then you can't buy it. That is an impersonal, external reality. But with the needs-based approach, the rejection feels personal. It feels like you are withholding love or approval. It can lead to a dynamic of begging and pleading, where the most persistent child wears the parent down. It requires a parent who is incredibly consistent and has the mental energy to explain the why behind every refusal. The significant trade-off here is financial infantilization. We see this often in young adults who head off to college or their first job. They have never managed a finite pot of money. They have always had a safety net where, if the need was great enough, the money appeared. They haven't flexed the muscle of delayed gratification in the same way. They haven't experienced the pain of an empty wallet on a Tuesday because they spent everything on Saturday. By managing all the money ourselves, we protect them from small financial failures, but we leave them vulnerable to massive ones later in life. We prioritize control and oversight, but the cost is autonomy and the visceral understanding of limits. Yet this approach is sometimes the only viable one for families on a strict budget. If there simply isn't excess cash to dole out for discretionary spending, the needs-based model is a reality, not a choice, and it can be done beautifully. It works well in cultures that emphasize the collective over the individual. It shines when parents are transparent about the family budget, sitting down with older children to show them the electricity bill or the grocery costs. It turns the no from a personal rejection into a shared reality of, we are prioritizing this other thing right now. So we have three imperfect models: the mercenary, the entitled citizen, and the constant negotiator. It is enough to make you want to avoid the topic altogether. But there is a synthesis, a way to blend these ideas that captures the security of the citizen model with the hustle of the commission model. But before we get to that hybrid framework, we have to talk about the most crucial component that all three of these models often ignore: the savings jar. Because regardless of how they get the money, the most important lesson is often what they are told to do with it once it touches their hands. Let's explore the hybrid model. This is increasingly popular among financial educators. The philosophy is base plus bonus. You provide a modest, unconditional base allowance, the citizen portion. This covers the basics and allows for learning. It is tied to their role in the family, not their chores. But then you offer commission opportunities for extra work, jobs that go beyond daily expectations, like cleaning the garage or washing windows. The why here is to provide a safety net of security while still leaving the ceiling open for ambition. It acknowledges that a child is both a family member deserving of care and a capable individual who can contribute value. It attempts to mirror the adult world of a salary plus commission or a side hustle. Implementing this requires a bit of an accounting mindset. In the living room, it sounds like this. Here is your $5 for the week. Now, if you want that $40 video game, you are going to need to do the extra list. It creates a dual-track conversation. It solves the "I'm not cleaning my room unless you pay me" problem because the room cleaning is a non-negotiable citizen duty. No pay, just expectation. But it also solves the "I want more money" whining by pointing to the job list. It puts the ball back in their court. The reality, though, is that it is complex. You have to track two different types of money. You have to clearly define what is a citizen chore and what is a bonus chore, and those lines can get blurry. The trade-off is mental load. For the parent, the hybrid model is the most cognitively demanding. You are managing a base salary, verifying citizen duties are done without tying pay to them, which is a nuanced conversation, and pricing out and inspecting bonus jobs. It is very easy for this system to collapse under its own weight during a busy school week. You might find yourself just handing over $20 to make a problem go away, breaking your own complex rules. The cost of this nuance is consistency. It requires a parent who is willing to be a bit of a project manager. If you are already drowning in logistics, this extra layer of administration might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. This approach is the gold standard for older children, preteens, and teenagers. They are developmentally ready to understand the difference between duty and opportunity. It fits families who want to teach the concept of a financial floor and a financial ceiling. It is for the parent who wants to teach that you will always be cared for, but your luxuries are up to you. It bridges the gap between the socialist nature of a family and the capitalist nature of the economy they are about to enter. Regardless of which system you choose, commission, citizen, needs-based, or hybrid, you will eventually face the spending dilemma. Your child has the money. They want to buy something you know is absolute garbage. A fidget spinner that will break. A video game skin that has no utility. The instinct is to intervene. Don't waste your money on that. But research into financial literacy suggests a fascinating counterpoint. We have to let them waste it. We have to let them feel the buyer's remorse. The pain of spending $10 on a toy that breaks in 5 minutes is a low-stakes lesson. It is a $10 mistake. If we prevent that mistake now, they might make a $10,000 mistake with a car loan later. The hardest part of the money mindset is allowing them to fail while the safety net is still underneath them. Then there is the architecture of the money itself. Many families use the spend, save, give jar system. It's a lovely visual, but I've often wondered about the give jar. When we force a child to put 10% of their income into charity Are we teaching generosity or are we teaching taxation? If they never see that money again and don't feel the emotional connection to where it goes, it becomes just another deduction. The nuance here is to make the giving active. Let them choose the charity. Let them buy the dog food and drive it to the shelter. The goal is to move money from an abstract concept of math to a tangible concept of impact. The same goes for saving. Saving for the sake of saving is boring. Saving for a goal is exciting. The framing changes everything. When we step back and look at all these moving parts, we realize that the specific system matters less than the conversation that surrounds it. We are writing a money script for our children. Is the script one of scarcity? We never have enough. Is it one of anxiety? Money is hard to get and easy to lose. Or is it one of agency? Money is a tool that we control. The allowance method is just the prop we use to act out this script. You can raise a financially literate child with no allowance, and you can raise a financially illiterate child with a complex hybrid system. The variable is the transparency and the calmness with which money is discussed in the home. I tried to picture my children at 25. I don't care if they are rich. I care that they aren't afraid of their bank account. I care that they understand the connection between their energy and their resources. Whether you choose to pay for chores or give a stipend, the goal is the same: to slowly, over 2 decades, transfer the responsibility of their survival from your shoulders to theirs. It is a slow, often messy process filled with lost dollars and regrettable purchases. But every time they count their coins on the kitchen counter, they are building a map of how the world works. I'm curious to know how this lands in your specific household. Are you a base plus bonus family? Or do you find the citizen model creates a better atmosphere? There is no wrong answer, only the answer that fits your current season. Leave a comment below sharing which trade-off you are willing to accept: the administrative load of the commission model or the entitlement risk of the allowance. Reading how other thoughtful parents navigate this is often the best research we can do. Until next time, take a breath and good luck with the negotiation.